night, I actually get a break, and I was listening to jazz, and I was thinking about how I spent a good chunk of my young adult life actually watching Sex in the City. So, like, Sex in the City came out in 98, and I was 8 years old, so I didn't really watch Sex in the City when it aired on television or HBO. I watched it online, and I went back to the old shows, the first season, and I watched it as a young adult in college, and I spent a lot of my young adult 18, 19, 20 years watching Sex and the City. And just thinking that I'm Carrie Bradshaw and wondering why, like, I just wonder why I was so enamored with the glitz and glam, but I didn't really, like, sometimes I would get frustrated with Carrie, and I thought that she was cruel, but I would ignore it. Like, oh yeah, she's cruel, she's weird, but we're supposed to be rooting for the girl that doesn't fit in and wants to live in the big city, and the little writer lady who just isn't as successful as her friends or as tall and doesn't fit into that world, but desperately wants to. We're supposed to be rooting for her, but she's obviously not a decent person when it comes to how she treats people, and we're just going to ignore that. I did. Like, I ignored her, like, just terribleness, like, for a long time, because myself, I was disillusioned myself, like, I think that people resonate with her when they are highly insecure, and also not really in touch with their soul and their spirit. And I think that, like, if you look at in just like that from a symbolic point of view, if you look at Sex in the City from a symbolic point of view, maybe Carrie is this energy being that believes that if she has the fanciest, coolest clothing and the biggest hair, and she has like the greatest story written, like, and she has all of the friends that are just like successful, and like, if she has all of that, that it will be fulfilling, and she will make it, she will be big. And also there's this phantom, this big, that she's chasing, and it's just like, it's an actual person that treats her like shit. But the point is that he represents, is similar to my first love, this idea of, like, it's just it's an illusion of success. I tell people this all the time now. What is real success is, it's hard to, like, pinpoint. It's hard to see. You can't just look at someone like, that's a successful person. You would have to sit down and have a conversation with somebody about their journey in life to really determine if they're successful in life. I mean, you could say, oh, look at you, you wrote a book, you're famous. Oh, look at you, you have all these great friends, you're a socialite. Oh, look at you, you're dating so and so, you have big hair, you have fancy clothes, you have lots of money, you have a big house, you have but it's nonsense. You wrote a great song, everyone's listening to it. Are you happy in life? No. I'm, like, torn inside. If that's the response, is that person successful? So, like, if you want to look at Sex and the City from that point of view, people who resonate with Carrie, number one, haven't found success. They're going to struggle with finding that, because they have this really warped idea of what it is. And I think that Big was the manifestation of that. And in my own life, there was a Mr. Big, and that didn't work because I wasn't in touch with who I was, that person wasn't in touch with who he was, whatever the case may be. There's the Aiden in my life, and that Aiden came later in life, and I feel like Aiden was a phantom too, but the reason she didn't chase that phantom and, like, pushed it away was because it was less of a phantom and more of, like, the real deal, like the real spirit. Like, hey, here's the real spirit of success, a guy who doesn't have to have a big house, a big car, supermodels, to go on dates with, whatever. Like, and it's just like working with his hands and humble and artsy and quirky and just whatever, and faithful and not toxic. That's Aiden, and it's like she pushes that away because it's so real, and it makes her feel insecure because of whatever she feels she's missing. And so when that illusion, if we're going to call big an illusion, that's what I've been doing for the past 5 minutes now. So this illusion passes away, and just like that, and it's just kind of like now she has to be in touch with reality. And she will always have unique style. She will always have big wild hair. She will always be an interesting writer. It doesn't mean that, that doesn't make her successful. It just is who she is. So it's like, okay, I have these things. I will always have them. Now what? So, and then I think that's where, and then Aiden comes in the end. And and obviously, it's not perfectly written, but I think that there's some people behind the scenes that really did try to do that justice and show a spiritual growth in her. Okay, did it manifest properly on screen? No, I had to do a lot of digging to see where some of the writers were trying to go symbolically, because some people just get warped up in the name and how big the show was and the fashion and the actors and stuff like that. But I think that there were some people behind the scenes who were like, hey, let's show her growing spiritually and emotionally, and getting in touch with herself and not being happy with it and grieving her old self or her idea of what she thought success was, or the reality that it's what she thought was real really wasn't. I don't know, maybe I'm dead wrong. At the end of the day, why Aiden over Big? Because Aiden is not an illusion, but of the real thing. It didn't need to pass. That it's always there. That energy, the truth is always present. It's always there. It's always there. Will come back. It didn't need to pass. It's not perishable. The illusion is. So if you want to take something from in just like that, in Sex and the City on a deeper spiritual level, that would be something, concerning Carrie and her and the dynamic between Aiden and Big. I could do a Carrie and Natasha video, but I feel like there's been enough Carrie and Natasha videos, and I feel like, maybe I'll do a Carrie and Natasha video. We'll see.